In previous videos, we've looked at using Doctopus and Goobric in an environment where you are not using Google Classroom. Now, Google Classroom has taken over or duplicated a lot of the functionality of Doctopus, and at first look, you might ask why you would continue to need to use Doctopus at all. And one of the big reasons is its access to Goobric. So for assignments that benefit from a rubric, this is a good environment. It allows you to very easily attach this or associate this rubric with assignments in classroom or outside of classroom and provide feedback to students through that rubric. Okay, so let's take a look. If I go into the folder I've created for my class that I'm using Doctopus with, in the teacher folder, you'll notice I created a blank Google Doc. There's nothing really in there if I open it. Not even any directions. And this is an election essay. So notice I named this one a little better than the previous one so that now I don't have to remember what the essays are about. I can just see it right in the name. And I'm going to go to Google Classroom and I'm going to create a new assignment. I'll just call it election essay and say use our standard writing rubric to help you with this assignment. You know, I can give it due date and I can do all the normal things that I would do in Google Classroom. I'm going to leave it in this demo class, although from Classroom I could assign it to other classes simultaneously. And I'm going to attach through Google Drive, so through the Google Drive icon, the assignment 3 here, and I want to make a copy for each student. So this is where I say this is really duplicating the functionality that previously you needed Doctopus for, but through Google Classroom you can do it here, and it makes sense to do it here, not to do it through Doctopus. Okay, once that's done, I can come back to my drive space, and I'm going to create a new Google Sheet. And I'll call this one Assignment 3 Election Essay. I'll go to Add-ons and I'll launch Doctopus. So far the sheet is being done in exactly the same way I would do it if I wasn't in the classroom environment. Now the difference. For select mode, I am going to ingest a Google Classroom assignment. It will take a little while to kind of see the classes that have been created in Google Classroom under the same account. And now I'll have to select a class. So I have multiple classes in here, but I'm going to select my demo class. Once that's done, it'll see the assignments, and there's my election essay. So I'll choose that. And I'll simply say ingest assignment. Notice this is going to be a simpler process. Fewer choices because I've created things in that Google environment. Everything is created for me and I'm instantly brought to this screen. So from here, I can attach my Goobric. Again, as a reminder, if I want students to be able to self-assess or peer assess, I'm going to have them visit this link and install the Chrome extension themselves. Let's go directly to my drive. Copy a numeric rubric? Sure. Since I already have one. And this is just a way to get you started with a rubric. You'll obviously have to break out this information. So it's not terrible time saver, honestly. But if you had a rubric, say in Word or something, you've got to be careful and not bring the formatting in. But yeah, you could cut and paste into this and you would have your rubric. In this particular example, though, I'm going to select one that I already have. So I'll select my sample rubric. Okay, my options are the same at the bottom. Make it viewable to students, of course. Allow self or peer assessment. Perhaps in this case, yeah, let's allow it, knowing that my students will have to configure their environment with this add-on. Send email notifications to students. So I'll allow all of it this time. And it's updating my students. It's up to number 5 of 6, and so it'll be done shortly. And there you go. So now, this is the link to this column. This link is to the document itself. This link is to the Goobric. So let me just use that for a second. Pretend I'm a student without having to go into the student accounts and say, okay, so I've very quickly created an essay there. And come back and go to the assessment piece, the Goobric link. And this is a perfect essay. I have the option of doing an audio recording if I want. I have the option of just simply going to my next student if I want. This student did well also. Again, auto advance on submit and to email. So I'm just going to say submit here, and now it's at 2019. And there's the ones from 2017. Now notice I didn't submit this one. Let's see, did that submit take care of both of them? I'll come back here to my spreadsheet and take a look. No, so they need to be individually submitted. It submitted the second one, so probably best practice would be to do one and submit. The only time I wouldn't do that was if my assessment wasn't complete. If my assessment isn't complete, I'll just allow it to stay there without submitting, but I've got to keep track of what I've done. So now I'm on to 2019, but basically how you do it. Now there are a few options that are slightly different when you're ingesting from a Google Classroom, so let's take a look at those. Previously, we talked about or mentioned briefly this display average scores. This is actually a toggle. So if I click here, it's going to say display latest scores. So I can go back and forth between average and latest, and that's really used in the case that you're doing multiple assessments of a single student's work. Okay? Refresh edits and counts we've looked at, but this is a new one. Look for new submissions. And I have the option here to only take those that are designated as turned in, which is something they would do in Google Classroom. So then I could go back and look there, and if I do, I'm going to find out that none of these have been turned in on the student side. Add a co-teacher, which is same as previous, and basically you can change your Goobric. So if the rubric was not the one I intended it to be, I can come in here and I can choose a new one. Not something I really want to do after I start assessment, but something that's nice essentially if I make a mistake or I change my mind early in the process. Okay, That concludes the video on ingesting assignments from Google Classroom. It's a great option. It gets the best of both worlds. So it gets you the Google Classroom environment, which is really, really useful, but it also allows you to use Goobric and to do so without a tremendous amount of work.